Hello and welcome to this video, or welcome back to my channel if you've seen any of my previous Bridgerton Season 4 videos that I've posted over the last few weeks. I'm glad to have you back for this second to last Bridgerton Season 4 video. I wanted to take it back to my channel roots and give you some book recommendations of books I think that you'll really like if you've been liking Bridgerton Season 4 so far. So let's go ahead and talk about these books. All right, so the first two books on this list are on here because I myself love fantasy books. Now, I recommended the first book in this series in my last Bridgerton book recommendations video, so now I'm recommending the rest of the series here. This is the Regency Fairy Tales series. This is one of those like romance series where you can read it out of order if you would like, or you can read it in order if you would like. It's up to you. Here are the three books in the series, and today we're going to talk about 10,000 Stitches and Long Shadow. The reason I think you should read 10,000 Stitches if you love Bridgerton Season 4 is because these two stories do start off on a very similar footing. In 10,000 Stitches, we have a maid named Effie who falls in love with a gentleman named Benedict. She gets some help from a fairy to go to a ball and get this gentleman Benedict to notice her and fall in love with her. So both stories are heavily inspired by Cinderella. Both stories are about a maid falling in love with a gentleman named Benedict. But what I love about 10,000 Stitches is that although it starts out kind of similar to Bridgerton Season 4, it becomes its own thing. It is its own story, and it is a delightful story. And also a story that I feel like I relate to quite a bit. Like I relate to Effie in ways where she feels frustrated by the way the world is, the way that some people in this world, because of the family they're born into, just have a completely different life and have it easy. Like, let's be real, they have it easy. And so throughout the book, she's fallen in love with this gentleman, but she's also kind of annoyed by him at the same time, and that like he gets to have this nice cushy life while she is literally scrubbing the floor beneath his feet. I was here for that. Now, like I said, you've got to read this if you like the Cinderella aspect of Bridgerton Season 4. You'll like it. On to the other Regency fairy tale that I want to recommend to you. This one is called Long Shadow, and I want you to read this book if you like the dynamic between Benedict and Sophie that starts to come out when they're at the cottage. You know, they're starting to kind of break down each other's walls a little bit. They both have to like put on this act when they're with other people. You know, Sophie has to just be the maid, be quiet, keep her opinions, keep her education, keep all of these parts of herself that she loves. She needs to keep that contained and just be a maid when she's with other people, right? Benedict is an artist. He is a free spirit. He's all these things, and then yet he has these pressures from his family, from his mother, that like he feels like he has to kind of keep parts of himself separate depending on who he's with. And yet when Benedict and Sophie are together, they start to break that down, and they're able to be a little bit more authentic with each other than they are with other people. And so if you love that part of Bridgerton Season 4 and you like that kind of dynamic, you're gonna love Long Shadow. This story is about a young woman named Abigail, and she is from the working class. She was born in the working class, her mother died, and then she is adopted by a family who is higher class. Her father in this world is like the court sorcerer. He is like the head magic expert for all of Britain. And so because of this place that he's in, this status that he has, Abigail feels a little bit torn between like the way she was raised in the working class and like where she is now. And you know, she tries to cover up her working class poor accent, and there are things that like she sees in society that she just doesn't agree with. Similar to Effie from 10,000 Stitches, there are things that she just doesn't quite understand. She thinks are kind of frivolous and silly, but she has to keep that to herself because she doesn't want to be shunned by society, the society that she's been welcomed into because she was adopted by the Lord Sorcerer and his wife. And then she meets another young woman named Mercy, who is hiding parts of herself for reasons that you will learn in the book. When they come together, they're able to find common ground in this performance that they're putting up for other people. They're able to kind of open up to each other in a way and just be their authentic selves with each other. And I think it's beautiful, and I think it's sweet and romantic. If you you liked seeing Benedict and Sophie being themselves for the first time in a very long time, if ever, because they meet one another, if you like that kind of dynamic, please read Long Shadow. I think you'll really enjoy it. It is so sweet and whimsical. I will say, just an FYI, just so you know, getting into this book, these two women fall in love as they are investigating a murder. They're trying to figure out who murdered this other young woman. And so there are some higher stakes in this book. There is some danger that they are getting themselves into, but the romance is just so nice and so lovely. For the next two books, we're returning to reality, okay? Starting with Persuasion by Jane Austen. I know. I'm a big Jane Austen fan. I have to recommend Jane Austen if I'm talking about Bridgerton, okay? For this one, I specifically chose Persuasion and would like you to read Persuasion by Jane Austen if you like Bridgerton season 4, because in this book, we see just how strict and rigid expectations are from family, from society for, relationships at the time. This book focuses on a young woman named Anne Elliot. She's in her 20s. She has been on the marriage mart for several years now, and at this point considers herself kind of on the shelf. She's kind of given up on all of that because several years ago, she met and she fell in love with a young man who was in the military, who was in the Navy. He proposed to her, they were in love, they were going to get married, but then Anne's family said, he's in the Navy. He's not going to have much money. You're not going to be very happy. It's not a good idea. Don't marry him. And thus they persuaded Anne not to marry the love of her life. And since then, she's kind of regretted that a little bit. In present times, this man comes back to town. He's back in town. He has risen in the ranks of the Navy. He's doing well for himself now. Maybe they get back together. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's a second chance romance. Maybe it's not. But like I said, this is, if you are interested in, the kind of tug of war between marrying for love or marrying for practicality or marrying to fulfill the expectations of your family or society at large or whatever, if you like that kind of tension and exploring that a little bit more, and you want to explore that a little bit more in a book that was written in the Regency era, and you really want to get that feel, get a sense of what that really was like at that time, read Persuasion. Read Persuasion. You'll get a feel for that, and it's a great book. It's by Jane Austen, so of course it's great. And also, if it matters to you, you can, next time you're talking to somebody about classics, you can smugly say, oh yeah, I read Jane Austen, but not the popular Jane Austen, not Pride and Prejudice, not Emma. I read Persuasion. If that's important to you, there's another reason that this is a good option for you. All right, our next book is Longbourn. This is Jane Austen adjacent because it is about the servants in the Bennet household, the Bennets of Pride and Prejudice. This book is about the servants that serve that family. This is if you want to understand what it was like to be a servant at that time and kind of get the behind the scenes of like what happens in a household like that at that time, what was happening behind the scenes of Pride and Prejudice, or what might have been happening behind the scenes of Pride and Prejudice. Read Longbourn. Really primarily is about that class distinction, what it's like in the day-to-day of being a servant at this time in history. So like that's the main primary focus of this book, but there is also a little subplot of romance. So yeah, if you've been interested in seeing kind of the drama and the relationships and the things that are unfolding here in Bridgerton season 4, because Sophie is a maid and you like seeing like what's happening downstairs, what's happening there, this is the book for you. This is the book for you. For my last book, I'm going to recommend to you one of my favorite books of all time, and that is The Night Circus. I'm recommending this to all of the fans of the forbidden love kind of trope that we're seeing in Bridgerton season 4. The two people who meet and kind of instantaneously feel this pull to one another, who feel this kind of magic, this kind of chemistry that's pulling them together, but can't be together. Shouldn't be together, are expected not to be together, but yet there's just this pull. There's this, to reference Jane Eyre, there's this invisible string, right? There's this thing that's kind of tied them together and they don't know what it is, but they're connected in this way. Read The Night Circus. We are returning to the fantasy world with this book. And we have two magicians who are in this competition, and yet from the moment they meet each other, they're just drawn together. They are just like kind of magically linked and connected, and they fall in love. And it's beautiful, and yet they're in this competition against each other. They're supposed to beat one another, and this competition goes until one of them dies. And so it's like this just tragic, forbidden, unexpected love story. They can't help but like fall in love with each other, and they can't help it. Like, it just happens, and it's magical, and there's a scene where there's a ball and they're dancing, and I am a sucker for a ball where there's just tension and there's romance and it's magical. It's one of my favorite books of all time. So please read it if you like the forbidden love thing. And if you're not a big, huge fan of fantasy, don't be intimidated by this book. There is magic in this book, but unlike other fantasies, it's not a science. It's just there for vibes, okay? You don't need to understand all these rules or all of these politics or whatever. It's just there for the vibes. I love the vibes in this book. It's just I love it. It's one of my favorite books. So I would love it if you read this book because I think you would enjoy it. And that, my friends, are all of the 5 books that I have to recommend to all of my fellow fans of Bridgerton Season 4. Now, if you liked this video and you would like to see other videos like this one, consider subscribing to my channel. I have made some other book recommendation videos based on movies, based on Disney princesses, based on Bridgerton. So if you like this kind of style of video, consider subscribing. I'd love it if you joined my little corner of the internet. Now, if you're already subscribed, thank you. If you're one of my bookish friends that likes my bookish content, don't you worry. We're going to get back to my regularly scheduled programming of bookish recommendations, reading vlogs, all of that the week after next week. Okay. And with all that said, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble about books. I will see you in my next video. Bye.